Welcome to Spiritual Ambition, where we tune in to awaken our divine nature and explore the provocative inner force compelling us toward our fullest potential. If you've achieved external success but feel a deeper calling, if you're tired of dimming your light to fit in, and you know there's a more powerful way to live and lead and love, you're in the right place. Host Donna Bond is a best-selling author, modern-day high priestess, and catalyst for personal transformation. Together, we're birthing a new paradigm of loving leadership, integrating our humanity with divine wisdom as our individual awakening serves collective evolution. Here's your host of Spiritual Ambition, Donna Bond.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome back. You're watching Spiritual Ambition. This is episode 34. Today, we're calling it Master Manifest Your Living Vision. And what you probably don't know about me is I consider myself a master manifester. I was given 2.5 acres of land. I had money fall out of the sky to give me the freedom to be able to build the house that I live in. And I designed my entire husband on a piece of paper before he actually showed up on the scene. So what if you could predict your future? What if you could stop trying to predict your future and instead you started creating it? That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share all of my secrets. If you tune in with me and stay with us later today, you'll be able to receive the download to my 12 secrets that may or may not be disclosed in this forum. You know, we have the opportunity to vision a different world. And I know sometimes it's not easy to do that because all we do is we flip on the news and we see a lot of pain, a lot of struggle, a lot of things that are happening that we don't like and don't want. And today I want to remind you that you are so much more powerful than you have been taught to believe. And so I'm going to take you through my process of manifestation so that you can begin to envision a life that you love, but not just a life for yourself, a life for all of us, for the whole, for the collective. You know, so many of us are trapped because we get trapped in what seems probable or improbable. And we get locked into what we believe about our past evidence. We get trapped by our own senses and we live inside the confines of our own thinking, and then we call it reality. But if you're tuning into this, you're not most people. You're here because you know that there is a different way to do life. And if you want to learn more about it, stick with us today. We're going to close the gap between the life that you're living and the life that you know you're meant to live. We're going to crystallize the vision that is really calling you forward. Maybe you have a dream in your heart that has been nudging you or tugging at you the whole time for your whole life. And it doesn't matter how old you are. You know, I went back to school at the age of 45 and pursued a master's degree and launched myself into a whole new field of something that I didn't know anything about at the midpoint in my life because it was connected to a dream in my heart. So it doesn't matter how old you are. We all have those whispers that somehow got stuffed into the back of the closet and they're underneath a pile of boxes or a heap of clothes. Today we're going to step out of probability and we're going to step into possibility. We're going to call in and we're going to play with the quantum field. So we're going to lean into a co-creative partnership with universal wisdom, and you're going to be invited to master manifest your living vision. So again, I want to remind you that nothing outside of you is greater than what is inside of you. You are a powerful creator. And the minute you begin believing that inside of yourself, right then and there, you have begun to change the possibilities that exist in your life. The universe is only waiting for your clarity so you can make your next move. So we're going to go ahead and call in the light as we always do. I just invite you, wherever you are, to just close your eyes. And thank you for those of you who are tuning in, scrolling by, stopping in to say hello to us. We feel you. We know you. We recognize you. I'm not going to say your names today because this is pre-recorded, but I really appreciate you being here. So thank you for creating the time in your day to lift your awareness, to tune in, to awaken your divine nature. Infinite universe, we call ourselves forward into your loving. We ask to be cleared, filled, surrounded, and protected with the clear white light of living love. We ask that any karma, negativity, or imbalance be lifted and transmuted at this time, taken to the highest realms of light and sound, and dispersed back into the nothingness. Into this space, we recognize grace and peace and light and vision. We recognize potential and possibility. We acknowledge and we invite in only those divine beings of light who love each one of us unconditionally, who work for the divine plan and who work for the light. We welcome only you into our sacred space here today, keeping in mind each of our unique destinies. We ask the spirit world and the spirit teams, these divine masters of light, for their guidance and direction, for their assistance and protection. We ask for your support, bringing forward healing, revelation, and wisdom of the heart for each individual here, for their highest good and the highest good of all. We are so grateful for the opportunity to come together and do this work. For this and more, we say thank you. So be it. We're going to send some light around the world here in a minute, but maybe you dream big and you're feeling like you're living small. I get it. It's easy to do. There's a gap between the life that we know that we're meant for and the one that we're actually living sometimes. And our dreams were seated in our consciousness, in our hearts, in our soul, in our sacred soul signature by design. They are meant to be with you. And part of our fulfillment of our soul's purpose is the bringing forward and the realization, the manifestation of those dreams. So don't give up on yourself. Today, I am going to invite you into some very logical steps that will support you in stopping living your life by default and beginning to learn to live your life by design. If you have a vision that feels out of reach and you've tried some other tools and something still isn't clicking, you're going to want to tune in with us today. So, our sacred circle of light, where we each episode come together as a community and we intentionally send healing energy and divine love out and around the globe to those who need it most. So perhaps you know someone who is struggling with health challenges or facing difficulties in their life right now, or someone who you know just needs a little extra support and loving. We believe in the power of our loving collective intention to uplift and strengthen those that we care about. So in my heart right now, I just want to send the light to anyone who is working with grief or sadness or depression, anyone who is struggling with substance abuse issues, who has forgotten their way back to their own divine nature. I know you're in there. And my prayer today is that you receive this on some level of your consciousness to remember and to feel the upliftment. We send the light to Celia, Don, Gregory, Beth, Bob, Betty, Tina, and Carmen. If there's somebody that you would like to send light to, you can always visit spiritualambitionsacredlight.com and send us the name of your loved ones, and we will include them in our prayers and in our light list. All right, well, today we're going to do a soul trip, which soul trip, TRIPP, stands for teaching, ritual, intention, process, and practice. And today I'm going to give you a teaching / a process. And I'm going to take you through Master Manifesting Your Living Vision. So in a moment, I'm going to share the screen, but I want to start with, author and energy medicine expert Carolyn Mace says the most valuable resources that we have as human beings are the things that we cannot see. Things like creativity, love, trust, faith, compassion, imagination, endurance, determination, courage, and vision. And today I am inviting you into enlivening your powers of vision. So how many of you can look in your closet and within just a couple of seconds, creatively pull out an outfit that you've never worn before from the same clothes that have been hanging in there for a long time? How many of you can look in the refrigerator when it seems like there's no food in there, but there's something in you that creatively can pull together a ridiculously amazing meal in a couple of minutes? I call that powers of kitchen magician. Maybe those two examples didn't resonate for you. How many of you can come into a space that looks like a disaster, and in an instant, you can totally see how that space could be organized, cleaned up, or maybe used more efficiently? These are all examples of your inner visionary. We all have them. And I think sometimes I can remember in my corporate days, I would have told you that I wasn't creative. And that's just a big fat lie, because everybody is creative. And sometimes we hear that word and we're sort of pigeonholed into what we think it believes. Sometimes we think, in order to be creative, I have to be a fantastic visual artist. But there's so many different aspects of creativity. There's so many different aspects of vision. So just take that in for a moment. Everything that exists in the physical world, everything was first somebody's vision. Just think about that for a minute, right? This is something that was created by the earth, my crystal that I hold on to. But everything, right? Like this glass, someone first had to think it up before it was actually created. So today, my intention is to loosen the parameters that you may have shackled your imagination with, and to open your awareness to the power that you have that exists outside of space and time. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and I'm going to bring you through my presentation here on Master Manifesting Your Living Vision. All right. So, universal law, physical world reality, what we understand is our world, right? time and space, the physical constructs of our life and how we move through it. That is what physical world reality is. There's time and there's space and there's forward motion. Sometimes moving through that, we think that we have to push or force our way forward. And we can get trapped believing that the physical world and its laws of matter and its laws of time and space are the only way to live. Gravity is a law that we all know about and recognize in the physical world. Gravity operates in a certain way, and we all have to work with gravity in the way that gravity works, or we're going to have some problems for ourselves. Gravity is also a universal law because it operates the same way for all of us. It doesn't discriminate. And there's a whole set of other universal laws that also work the same way for all of us. These laws govern the multi-dimensional you, not the physical you, but the multi-dimensional you. So the laws that I'm referring to, these universal laws, they exist outside of the limiting bounds of time and space, and they're governed by your power. And your power is your energy, your life force. So whatever you give your power to or your energy to is the first step towards how something begins to take form in the physical world. When we only experience our life through our five senses and we discount universal law operating outside of time and space, we are roadblocked again and again, and we can get trapped within the confines of our own thinking. But when we're willing to embrace our multidimensionality and we can open ourselves to the power of our imagination, mingling our individual mind with the big mind, the one mind, the universal mind, then we access our powers of vision, and our new vision pours out into our consciousness. So physical reality really governs form and time and space. You know, it can be a trap. Multidimensional reality is outside of time and space, governed by our life force. So what is a living vision, and why do we want to get one? A living vision is your personally designed, lovingly crafted, co-created architecture, which acts as an energetic blueprint from which you can then manifest your reality. And again, this is all happening outside of physical reality. The purpose of creating a living vision is to participate in the co-creative process of life as an empowered co-creator and master of possibility, of new possibility. Designing, crafting, and architecting your living vision is an act of inner leadership. And it's an infusion of your life force energy, which is offered as a partnership with universal intelligence in this co-creative experience that we call life. When we offer our energy in this co-creative partnership with the universe, This is how the universe knows that we're serious about our dreams. I want to remind you again that nothing outside of you is greater than what's inside of you. And, I can remember when I was working with clients in these principles in the early days. And I had a client say to me, Donna, when you first started telling me about these ideas and the way that this works, I didn't really believe you. I thought it was a little bit of BS. But the more I started affirming these things, the more I started believing them. And the more I started believing them, the more my world began to shift and change around me. So I just want to invite you into this even bigger awareness that our belief systems are governing the experience that we're having in our world. And we often don't think that we can design them in a way that would be wonderful for ourselves and the people that we love and the world that we live in, but we can. So it's so easy to be overcome with the problems of the world and overwhelmed by the problems of our life. And it's easy to feel powerless and defeated by all of it. But I want you to remember that you are a powerful creator, and nothing outside of you is greater than what's inside of you. I want you to remember your wholeness and your multidimensionality. We've all been taught to rely on our mind, our brains, our IQ. Everybody knows. I can remember growing up, people getting their IQ measured and having a lot of fear around that and thinking to myself, I grew up really believing that I wasn't that smart. And that was something that was imprinted on me in a really big way. But what I began to recognize as I got older, as I started doing this work, is that I have more than just one intelligence. So, in addition to my intellectual intelligence, my IQ, we all also have an EQ, an emotional intelligence, which has gained a lot of traction over the last 20 years, let's say, where people are beginning to notice and recognize and realize that there's information that is being given to us through our emotions. We have learned to deny those emotions and repress them and suppress them. And we've all been taught that there's no room for our feelings, especially in the workplace, especially if you're a woman. But there's so many women who are empaths with keen sensory awareness of not only their own feelings, but the feelings of everybody in the room. What if we began to lean into that? What if we began to recognize that intelligence as part of our multidimensionality? Well, we also have a physical intelligence. And our physical intelligence are these vessels, these bodies, this beautiful disguise that we wear as a spiritual being, making our way through this epic human adventure. And these bodies are giving us information 24/7, 365. We often ignore it at our peril, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, right? So this is also part of our wholeness, our multidimensionality. And then above all else, we have our spiritual intelligence. This is our original wisdom, this inherent intelligence that doesn't have to be taught. This isn't what we learned from our parents. This is the wisdom that we all hold that is part of the greater wisdom of the universe. And that wisdom, when we allow it into our consciousness and our framework, can inform our life in many ways. So when we can begin to recognize all of these intelligences are part of our life experience, and we can begin to value and honor all of them, then we're embodying our wholeness. And in this activity that we're going to go through today, in learning how to vision, we want to include all of us in the process. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about that, you can check out information about higher human integration on donabon.com. I have a whole program that walks you through that, but we're not going to talk about that today. So the reason that we include our original wisdom in our living vision is because identifying with the highest aspect of our human consciousness clears our vision. It opens our hearts and it inspires us into action. Our original wisdom is comprised of unconditional love. And unconditional love is an energy. And as we know, because Einstein has taught us, everything is energy. It cannot be created or destroyed. It just reinvents itself into different forms. All energy has a frequency or a resonance. It can be high or it can be low. It can be heavy and dense, or it can be light. The energy of your original wisdom is the highest energetic part of your being. And this energy, this frequency, carries with it information. Information that will inform your vision, information that comes through your heart, and information that will inspire you into action. Calling on your original wisdom, this higher part of you. This part of you holds the keys to your kingdom. This part of you holds the sacred secrets that you're here to discover and uncover throughout the course of your life. This is the part of you that is actually capable of true visioning, because it invites you to go beyond your own mind and into the one mind, the universal mind, the mind of consciousness. Creating a living vision is a partnership between the human you and the higher you, which isn't separate from the universal energy of all that is. We want to partner with this authentically empowered part of us because it's bigger, it's smarter, and it's way more creative than any one of us on our own. My dear friend, and as a matter of fact, today is his birthday. You're going to watch this on a different date, but my dear friend and author, Dr. Robert Holden, who just launched a new book, by the way, called Becoming Yourself, 9 Ways to Be More of the Real You. And it's about the Enneagram, if anybody knows what that is, and that is of interest to you. He has this wonderful quote, and the quote is this: "The challenges that we face today, both in our personal lives and on our planet, require not more effort, but more wisdom." So when we create our living vision from a place of wisdom, you're creating on behalf of the whole. You're creating on behalf of the whole. So why do we want to do this? Why do we want to create a living vision? The best way to predict the future is to create it. And, there's a lot of victimization going on the planet right now. But the world is our mirror. So as we each individually begin to reclaim our powers as a creator, we pull ourselves out of victim consciousness, and we pull ourselves out of feeling like we have no power and that we are powerless to do anything in our life or contribute anything in our life. And I am here to remind all of us that we are participating in our life as a co-creator with life itself. We have a choice in every moment. We have a choice to live our life by default, where we're going to kind of let life push us around, let life decide for us, or we can begin to create our life by design. I started working with living visions back in 2013 when I went to school at the University of Santa Monica, where I first learned about this. And at that time, I was lost in my life. I did not know what I wanted. And even if you had asked me, like, oh, what's your big dream or what's your big vision? I couldn't have told you because I was so unhappy. Physically, I was exhausted. Mentally, I was trapped in negativity that would just loop over and over again. Emotionally, I felt angry and discouraged. And spiritually, I was bankrupt. As I began to tune in more deeply into my own heart and clear away the chatter of the mind and allow myself to feel aligned with my original wisdom, as I began to do that, I recognized that I had what I have now defined today as pillars of clarity. And so if you are struggling with what is your dream or what is your vision or what do you want to create in your life, I want to invite you into this idea of pillars of clarity. These are the non-negotiable inner experiences and core values that anchor your living vision. These are the essential feelings and qualities and ways of being that you know that you want to experience in your life, regardless of what form that might take in the outer world. So I'm going to give you some examples. Like my pillars of clarity at the time, I was in a great amount of discontent with my job. I knew that I did not want to be in that career any longer in the hotel business, even though on the surface it looked amazing. I'm, had a multiple six-figure salary, working alongside best-in-class people, working for an incredible company at a beautiful location. It checked all the boxes, but there was something wanting to be called forward inside of me that needed to be birthed through me. One of those things, one of my pillars of clarity, was I really wanted to feel like I was making a more meaningful contribution to the world. Now, I had no idea what that meant. I had no idea what that looked like. There was not one bone in this body that thought she was going to become a spiritual psychology life coach or a spiritual teacher for that matter. That was way outside the realms of my belief systems at the time. It wasn't even something that I could imagine. But I had this pillar of clarity that I wanted to make a more meaningful contribution. I also knew that I wanted freedom of my expression and freedom of my authentic expression. I knew that I wanted to share my voice. So these important pillars of clarity became the cornerstones or the anchor points for what would then become a vision. So as we bring clarity to what we would love in our life, because these were all things that I knew that I would love, and they were all experiences that I was going to have inside of me. It wasn't really predicated on what was going on in the outside world. And this is the important point that I want to get across. So let's get the energy moving a little bit for you. Let's do a little guided meditation. I want to invite you wherever you are. If you have something to make some notes on, scribble on, grab yourself a piece of paper so you can make a few notes and just close your eyes and take a deep breath. And just allowing your mind to settle, really calling in your original wisdom, giving yourself permission to hear and to receive whatever wants to come through. And we're going to do this pretty quickly. So just write down bullet points, one word answers that you can refer to later. But when I invite you into the question, what calls you forward? What calls you forward? We can stop the screen share for just a second, Cal. What calls you forward? What breaks your heart? What breaks your heart? What cracks you open? What cause do you really care about? Just feeling into that, just allowing whatever wants to be seen. What is a secret dream that you've always held in your heart? Nobody's looking. You can admit it to yourself right now. It's not too big. What is that secret dream that you've always held in your heart? If you could free yourself from all responsibility and fully follow the call of your heart, what would you be doing? Yeah, just imagine for a second. You don't have any kids, all your bills are paid, you have access to time, to resources, to money. What would you do? If you just followed your heart, what would you be doing? Now I want you to imagine that the genie pops out of the bottle and grants you 3 wishes. What are they? What have you always wanted to experience that you have not experienced yet? Maybe this is a bucket list item. Maybe this is the one that got away. What have you always wanted to experience? And question number 7, if you only had 1 year left on the planet, how would you share your time? What would you do? Where would you go? Who would you be with if you only had 1 year left? I hope this is kicking up some dust for you guys. All right. Well, I hope you have some good notes. And now I'm going to set you up for success. You are invited to actually create your own living vision. And I want to set you up with success for this. So I'm going to share a few things that can be supportive to the process. And you might even want to take a note or two about this, because these living visions are storylines, essentially. Instead of being trapped in the storyline that physical world reality is locking you into, the invitation here is to design a new storyline. And, I can remember in the early days designing some of these storylines that I felt like would never come true or never happen. Like one of those storylines was that 5-star world-class resorts would invite me to teach and speak and facilitate on their dime, and that I would get paid for it. It happened. I mean, that seems kind of outlandish, right? But it happened more than once for multiple years in a row. The invitations are still coming. All right. Set yourself up for success. The first kernel, gold nugget that I'm going to give you: give yourself permission to dream. Be willing to color outside the lines. Go beyond what you know, beyond your imagination, and dabble in the imaginal realm. What if you just set a timer for 15 minutes and allowed yourself to make stuff up? Allowed yourself to dream. Allow yourself to get lost in dreaming. Give yourself permission. I hear sometimes from my clients, like, they don't want to give themselves permission because they're afraid it's never going to happen or it's not going to go right. I think there's an opportunity here to trust the universe. And I know that things are not linear. In our humanness, in our minds, we always want to have a straight line. We want to have the ABCs that we can follow that are going to lead us to a particular destination. But life doesn't really work like that. It's more like a chessboard. And anytime we make one move on the chessboard, the entire board rearranges itself. Life is like that. When we take one step, the entire landscape is going to become different. So the dream that you have today might be completely different than the dream that you end up with. But where you're taking yourself with that dream that comes to you today is an important intersection along the path. And I want to invite you to trust that. So give yourself permission to dream. The second thing, in this storyline that you're going to write, I want you to begin every single sentence with these 2 words: I am. When you have I am as the center point of your experience, what you're doing is you're claiming your power, because nobody else can say I am on your behalf. You can't say that for somebody else. But when I use those words, I am, experiencing joy. I am filled with aliveness. I am free and flexible. When I use those words, I am, it draws a line in the sand. It's definitive. It's not something that I'm thinking about. It's not something that I'm trying to get to. It's happening right here, right now, in the present moment. And this is a very important nuance to this technology that when we're creating, we want to create here and now in the present moment, not in the future, not in the past, but in this moment. The universe doesn't do the hokey pokey. And this is where, I've heard from people in the past, like, oh, I've done affirmations or I've tried, tricks of transformation and it never works for me. Well, part of the reason that it doesn't work is because we haven't brought all of our clarity into this now moment and owned inside of ourselves whatever it is we are wanting to design and create. So we can't have one foot in and one foot out. We want to design something that is here and now. So you don't want to say something like, I think I might become a health coach, or I am going to try to get a promotion. Right there. We're keeping it from us rather than I am delighted that I see the money in my bank account as that direct deposit paycheck is going into my account week after week. I am delighted with the new amount of money that I'm seeing. You can feel into how it even feels different, right? And when you say that, when you use these words, I am, you can naturally sense into the empowerment that is moving through you. Turn everything into a statement, beginning each sentence with I am. Recipe the ingredients that you do want. Oftentimes, we can get caught up in what we don't want. And oftentimes, I do a lot of discovery calls with potential clients. And in those discovery calls, I'll ask the individual about what they want. And usually the first thing out of their mouth is what they don't want, because that's where our attention has been focused. And that's where we're placing our power. So this is a complete power shift. Recipe the ingredients of what you do want. If you want peace, cooperation, unity, abundance, harmony, collaboration, rather than saying, I'm no longer experiencing fear, or I'm no longer triggered by constriction or contraction. We don't want to put those ingredients, the ingredients of fear or the ingredients of constriction or contraction. Those are the ingredients in our recipe here. We want ingredients that make us feel expansive, ingredients of things that we really do want to experience. I'm feeling freedom and aliveness. Finally, instead of saying like, finally, I'm free of self-doubt, we don't want to put self-doubt in the recipe because then it's in the recipe. Instead, we could say something like, finally, I am filled with surety and inner confidence. You see the difference? It's very important. You're going to ground your living vision in the present moment as if it's happening now. And I kind of already alluded to this, but you're going to write this in the first person, in the present moment, as if it's already happening. You don't want to say, I'm on my way to, or I'm moving towards, or I'm trying to, or even I'm going to. Those are future statements that keep us separate from aligning ourselves with what it is we really want. So in universal law, there is no time. You're not working with the part of you that you are working rather with the part of you that is operating outside of space and time. So you're going to bring it right here, right now. Remember Neo in the Matrix? When he figured out he was like living in this matrix, living in this dream, he said, there is no spoon. And that signified his evolution in consciousness that was beyond logic into a space where anything was possible. Stay out of the past and stay out of the future and the planning and bring it all into the now. This is a hard one. Hang up the how. Hang up the how. Focus on what do I want and why do I want it? The how is not up to you. The how is up to the universe. And when you're clear with the universe about what you want and why you want it, the universe then begins to rise up and meet you in this quest. If you want to get from Los Angeles to Boston, there's a lot of different ways that you can go there, right? And if we pigeonhole ourselves into one exact way that we're going to take from Los Angeles to Boston, a million different things can happen. There could be traffic jams, road closures, weather patterns. But when we stay fixated on that plan, we could suffer. We could get trapped. Things could not necessarily work out the way that we have planned. But when I say, okay, I'm trying to get from Los Angeles to Boston, and I'm open to whatever way the universe is directing me, I'm open to the detours and the shortcuts that might be presented to me that wouldn't show up along my path if I was so fixated on how I thought I was going to get there. Leave yourself open to be the recipient of universal intelligence. Universal intelligence, way smarter than all of us. Way smarter than all of us. But we forget that. We get trapped in our own mind, in our own limited thinking. And then we believe that we're the ones that have to solve the problem when the universe does want to help us. The universe wants to open the door and have the road rise up to meet us. But in order for that to happen, we have to leave ourselves open to it. So we've got to remember to trust that internal GPS system, your original wisdom, which is going to unfold and show you where to turn when it's time. But we have to be willing to be in that place of not knowing. And that's not always easy for our mind, for our ego. One of the other important nuances to this is that we want to clarify the outer experience of what we want to have, but more importantly, we want to clarify the inner experience. And the outer experience is what's happening in the physical world. So, I'm contributing to the world as a professional coach. I'm living in my dream house. I'm married to the man of my dreams. But the inner is what is happening as a result of the outer. And as I was talking about earlier, when I was speaking to the pillars of clarity, if you don't know what it is you want to do in the physical world, you really want to focus on that inner experience. I'm feeling like I matter and I make a difference in the world. I am filled with peace and joy and gratitude. I'm giddy with excitement and playfully in love. I hope you can see how by putting our attention, our life force, and our focus on that inner experience, It gives universal intelligence the opportunity to then organize around us and deliver something that's going to be a match for that inner experience. The world is our mirror, folks. The world is our mirror. So many of us are trying to bang our head against the wall and push and force things out into the physical world to make things happen. We're just draining our energy. We're sacrificing our life force. We're wasting the precious time of our life. All of it is an inside job. It's all an inside job. All right, here's the next one. This is a hard one. This is not the easiest, but I promise you it's such an important piece of the magic. Let go of the attachment to the outcome. And you can affirm that, whatever my dream is, I can come up with the best thing that I possibly could think of in my limited thinking. And then I can say to the universe, I want this or something better for the highest good of all concerned. When we let go of that attachment and we relax our grip, we open ourselves to receive, because it is quite literally the grip that keeps us from receiving what it is we want, because we create that resistance, right? When we're gripping, holding tightly to something, it's that bracing ourselves that creates that blockage. It's like that harder energy. It's the energy of yang, that resistance. It can be like a wall. It's a push. It's a forward motion. That's not how we allow things to come in to our experience. Letting go of our attachment to the outcome is being in receivership. I had no idea that I was going to become a spiritual psychology life coach. And it's a long story that I'm not going to tell right now, but it was the affirming of those pillars of clarity that I really had some heartfelt sentiment around, wanting to make a greater contribution in the world, wanting to express my authentic self-expression. The universe brought me to a place where I could recognize, oh, maybe coaching could fit the bill for this. Dr. Wayne Dyer, he said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I really want to invite you into making this a ritual and to lovingly write your story, which is the living vision. And I am inviting you into articulating these statements that begin with these two words, I am, and to create a series of paragraphs that architect a storyline of what you would love to experience and manifest in your life. And my guidance to you is to just pick one topic at a time, because you can create multiple visions once you sort of like get the hang of this. So, you can create a living vision about your health and your well-being. You can create a living vision about the type of relationship you want to be in. Maybe it's not even a partnership or a love relationship. Maybe it's relationships that have to do with friends or coworkers or family members. You can create a living vision about your finances, about your career, about your creative self-expression. Maybe you are a musician, or you want to be an artist, or you want to be a dancer, right? These are all different ways that we have this creative expression that wants to move through us. What is it for you? What blows up your skirt? What turns you on? What enlivens the energy, the aliveness that animates you, that animates your person? That animation is your original wisdom that is speaking through you. So you can design any area of your life. And as you're doing this, you're doing it with conscious intention. So here's a little bit of a tricky part. And this is an important part that includes your multidimensional self. And I think this is the difference between designing a living vision that true manifestation is going to be the result of, or just coming up with some affirmations that aren't really materializing into anything. We need to include all 4 levels of our consciousness. So, what do you want to be thinking about? How do you want to be feeling? What is the physicality to it? Like, when we talk about the physical, we're talking about action. We're talking about behavior. We're talking about moving from one spot to the next. And I'll be honest, people, come on. This is a heavy, dense reality, 3D reality that we live in. We can't design a vision and then sit on the couch. Sorry. I think this also, sometimes people get in these spiritual spaces and they think like, you're going to create this vision and it's all going to just fall into your lap. Sometimes that does happen. And you are a participator. Sorry. You are a participator in this co-creative process. So you're the boots on the ground, right? You're here to participate in your life. Taking action is part of the process. And taking action that feels inspired through this original wisdom that is animating your physical body. You have to include all 4 categories. And then make it juicy. Make it juicy, right? Like, when you read this, you should get excited. As you feel into this, you should feel the electricity and the energy and the aliveness moving through your body. Uplift the energy. Pack it with gratitude. And so here is a 1-paragraph small example to just give you an idea of what could be possible for you. I am overjoyed and so grateful now that I am thriving in my purpose. Now that I am thriving in my purpose-driven business. I'm creating positive change and healing for people, the planet, and my community through teaching, speaking, writing, and coaching. I am clear that my practice is a force for good. I am surrounded by incredible clients who inspire me and who I am in awe of. I'm overjoyed, feeling fully fulfilled that I make a meaningful difference in my life and the life of others. We have a quote here from Mary Oliver. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Well, let's see. I'm going to stop the screen share here. Kelly, we can stop the screen share. I hope everyone found that helpful. You can go back and watch this video. You can put it on pause. You can create with me if that would serve you. I'm going to make you an offer here right now. I have a special gift for you, but if you really dedicate yourself to a living vision and you'd like me to take a look at it, go ahead and email it to me, donna@donnabond.com, and I'll give you some feedback. This happens to be a superpower of mine, which I think I might have mentioned earlier in the share. But I have a download for you today. You can go to spiritualambitionsoultrip.com and you can download my 12 secrets of how to master or manifest your living vision. And these secrets are a little bit different than what I have just disclosed for you here. As a matter of fact, I don't even remember what's on that secret list, but I know that it is the juicy formula for manifesting your dreams in co-creative partnership with the universe. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope that you found this as a helpful and useful process. And I'd love to hear from you. You know, if you create a living vision and it's something that you would like me to take a look at. You know, the other, one of the things that's on the secret list is you want to recite your living vision out loud. Because when we allow our dreams to ride on the frequency of our voice, we send that out into the universe. We send that out into the collective, into the one mind, into the field where universal intelligence can catch it and create from it and with it. So you don't want to just create this and like stick it in a notebook and never look at it again. One of the practices that I have done repeatedly over the years is on a new moon. The day after the new moon, I will take advantage of the universal energies of creation that are present on the planet. And I will create some time and space for myself to design and write a living vision around whatever's up for me, you know, whether I was launching, I remember writing some visions about spiritual ambition and my heartfelt intention for the show. So again, if you want the download, you can visit Spiritual Ambition Soul Trip with 2 P's, SOULTRIPP.com, spiritualambitionsoultrip.com, and you can download my 12 secrets. All right. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for tuning in. This is Spiritual Ambition. I am Donna Bond. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to close the space. We just have to ask that the light be sent up ahead to each one of your unique visions, to the dreams of your heart, to the wisdom of your soul that is inviting you into inspired action. Because as you move through the dreams of your heart and manifest that vision into your physical world and your physical life, it is absolutely a pathway to your purpose, to the reason that you chose embodiment and that you came here to this life. We are now closing all energetic lines of communication between any of us, closing all open portals, gateways, channels, agreements, and lines of communication between either one of us in the spirit world. We are grateful and we say thank you. I'm Donna Bond. We are now closing this space with love, in love, for love, by love, as love. Thanks for being here.